In today's interview, I am talking with Vivian Belzaguy, who I got to meet when I worked with her on a little project. Well, it wasn't so little, actually. It was a pretty monumental project about a year ago. And it was a new exposure to me in terms of the niche that Vivian specializes in. So I was really excited to be able to see things through a little bit different perspective. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you what it is that she does and specializes in. And Vivian, tell us a story of how you've had to put into place some leadership principles to overcome objections to sustainability.
My name is Vivian Belzaguy, and I am the founder of Ascendance Sustainable Events. I specialize in the sustainability of large-scale music festivals, but also do all sorts of events. But yes, the project that Aurora is referring to is the work that we did together on Ultra Music Festival, which for those of you who don't know is a festival that happens locally here in Miami, Florida, and also all over the world. The one here in Miami sees 50,000 plus attendees per day, and it lasts for 3 days. So it is quite the monumental project that we worked on. And so much fun. When you have an event of that scale, it really is meaningful to put these kinds of initiatives and strategies in place. And of course, with an event that has kind of a global fan base and audience, that's where it of course becomes more and more meaningful and impactful each time we do some sort of communication or education around sustainability. So that is what we specialize in, and we love it. I love it. If I'm thinking about common objections that I've seen within the music festival space in general, and really within the event space in general, of course, the first one that comes up is cost. Do we have the funds to invest in this? Do we want to use our funding for that? Do we have the time? There's so much that comes up when it comes to the objections, and I think there's always a business case for sustainability. First and foremost, there's cost saving opportunities when you're reducing your energy intake, you're reducing your energy and utility bills. When you're reducing your water usage, you're reducing your water bill. When you're being more responsible about the waste that you're producing, you're reducing your waste management bills. So there's obviously cost saving opportunities, and then there's even revenue generating opportunities. And that's one of the ones that I've tried to bring into play with the music festivals, especially because they have these huge platforms and audiences that will be interested in anything potentially that you put out. So more often than not, we try to find some sort of sustainable merchandise that we can put into play. We try to sell some sort of reusable solution to a disposable alternative. There's always kind of different strategies and opportunities that you can put into place at a music festival specifically, and at events kind of in general. Not to mention there's sponsorships when you have a festival or a large event, where other companies might be interested in getting their brand in front of your audience, or even just might be interested in what you're doing that's good for the planet and might want to support that and join on to that effort with you.
I think you have a unique opportunity because people who are coming to one of these festivals, there's an entire experience wrapped around that can be branded, just the sustainable aspect of the experience. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I'm just curious a little bit about the evolution of how within an organization you get people to start thinking about like, oh, we can actually brand the sustainability aspect of the experience. We can actually put interesting words and images to this and sell stuff. Is that a big leap for people to kind of get that that's possible? Or was it, a really easy sell for you?
Well, in some cases, that's the initial motivation, right? In some cases, a festival is now looking to brand themselves as sustainable, or like they themselves as the leadership team might have this as a core value, and now they want to kind of spread that through the organization and out to their fan base. So in some cases, it's actually why we start to interact. But in other cases, to your point, it's trying to explain that this is a really good thing that you can put together with your brand and even make a full campaign about. That's what really kind of excites me, is when a festival is really looking not only to do a few little things here and there and put a little green stamp on their festival, but to really incorporate it into the brand and their communication moving forward. In the instance of Ultra, we did a full campaign that was in line with Ultra's brand. It really, put a really cool and inviting spin on, the whole element of sustainability that was now going to be present at the festival. And it really created a lot of engagement and talk in advance of the festival, so that attendees now knew that there was going to be this new experience, new expectations, and we were really going to kind of take care of our venue for the first time as a group. There are just really, really cool opportunities when the festival or the event is willing to do that, and sometimes it takes a little bit of pushing to see that, but others, that's what they want. That's what they're trying to do, and then we kind of put all of the operational strategies in behind that so that we can be in integrity with what we're communicating out to the public.
So I'm curious, when it comes to inviting customers to be a part of sustainability initiatives, I've worked a lot in the hotel space where there's this sort of debate over signage versus no signage. Like, do we need, more signs? It's just more noise and no one's really reading them anyway. When you think about some best practices for engaging customers and guests and attendees in sustainability, what do you think is sort of like a best practice, but also something that like the next big problem you're trying to solve? Like, what is it that guests still don't do or still don't get, or what kind of technology or operational ability would you like to be able to better engage the guest and the attendee?
To your point, signage is a great one. It's definitely one that we have to use a lot at music festivals, because we rather use signage than do things like make stage announcements, or, and there's always these really great times, at least at the festivals that I've worked, where you're kind of between artists, between sets. And so we have all this great digital signage that we can use at those times to help remind people. But that always is secondary to the advanced communication. Advanced communication is to me, the gold. That's when you have, plenty of time to kind of roll out your strategy and your initiatives, with different areas of focus, and kind of slowly educate and, like I said before, just kind of set new expectations for behavior at the festival. So that to me, in terms of social media communications, website, email blasts, that's when you really have the opportunity to give full messaging, to, outline all the things that you're doing, and to tell attendees, hey, here's how you can help. So the signage at the event is more of like a reminder. It's more of like, okay, so here in this spot, this is where this initiative is important. Where in this spot, this initiative is important. So that's kind of the secondary piece. What I wish we had more access to is kind of like something that goes directly into the attendees' hands, right? So if a festival has an application, we can then do a push notification to. That is where it's like not able to be ignored, right? So that's what I wish and I hope to see that more festivals employ moving forward.
It's very interesting that you use that particular example, because I feel like in a lot of the conversations that I've been having recently, and just to put a little context to someone who might be viewing this a year or two down the road, we're in May of 2020, we're in the height of this global pandemic and trying to figure out what that means for events moving forward. And one of the conversations that I keep finding myself in, maybe because I'm sort of pushing an agenda I really believe in, and that is we don't leverage the data that we have about attendees and guests sufficiently to support sustainability programs. So especially around food waste, right? If we had better data about attendees, we could do better planning around, guarantees and portion control and all the other things that go into food waste and reducing it. And so I would imagine that when we do start meeting again and going to festivals again, that the amount of data that's going to be needed about participants in order to guarantee safety and security, just as that goes to the next level, that perhaps we can also leverage that same data to enhance sustainability programs or to flow people into certain choices that would be more sustainable. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about the data aspect of it, like learning more about who's going to be in a space and then using that data through apps and such to sort of drive the behavior you're looking for.
In my case, most of the festivals that I've worked with have been starting from the ground up. So when it comes to sustainability, so we haven't had a lot of data about their behavior, the attendees' behavior, in when they're already in the festival. But to your point, we collect a lot of data about the attendee prior to, when they buy their ticket, when they sign up for emails, when they like our page on social media. That all comes with a lot of data. So, I think that employing that data to the best of our ability is absolutely a tool that we should be using for sustainability. But then when we know that we want to start sustainable practices and when we're putting that first year under our belt, that's when it's really important to collect the data that's specific to our initiatives, right? Did our attendees get it? Did they participate? Did they take the lesson home with them? So that's really an important piece when you're working on year one to make sure you don't forget to collect.
Thinking about what's next, when will we have festivals again? Neither of us has a crystal ball, so neither of us is going to offer up any sort of predictions or prognostications about what the future of events will look like, but they will happen again. We do know that. It's not if, it's when, and it's how, right? Because it will be different. And so what I keep hearing is a little bit of this excuse of, well, we're not meeting right now, so we can't really do sustainability because we're not traveling, we're not meeting, we're not, our hotel's not open or our restaurant's not open or whatever. What do you think about that? Is now the time to put sustainability on hold, or do you buy into that excuse?
I don't buy into that at all. I think quite the contrary. I think that we've been seeing actually surprisingly a lot of messages about sustainability coming in from all over the world, right? So all of a sudden the world goes on lockdown and we start hearing all of these stories about how the environment is suddenly recovering, wildlife are suddenly appearing in places that they've never been before. And so unexpectedly, I think for a lot of people, we've been hearing these messages about the environment coming through the same news outlets that we're hearing about the virus, right? And so that really started, at least my company, thinking about, yes, as much as this is a time to, stop and look at, what's going on and try to adapt, it's also a time to realize that, what the planet is making progress while we are, stuck at home. And how can we re-strategize the way that we operate so that when we come back, we're stepping lightly back on the planet versus, just going back to normal and doing everything the way that we did before. So that's what we've been thinking about internally. That's why we put out this free event sustainability guide that we put out on our website. It was a lot of work when a lot of people, were saying, let's stop thinking about this for a while. Let's just see what happens. We said, no, this is the time to really get some education out there and to really have people start thinking about what it is that they can do when we come back, to your point, because it's not if, it's when. And so we put out this guide that, kind of goes through all of these different reasons for why you should do this, how you can do this, what's in it for you, but then goes into the different strategies. And so I think that that's important because, to your point, yes, there might be some things that we don't really know how they're going to come back. But there's some things that we know are going to come back, and so how do we look at those, right? Fine. If there's certain things you don't want to focus on because you're really unsure, there's always something else that we can look at and that we know, okay, if we're going to have a stage, we're going to need power. If we're going to have, food, we're going to have food waste. There are things that will just always be there. And why not utilize this time to really think about how we can shift those operations? And to the point that we were speaking about before, to communications, we're always going to have to communicate with our audience. We're going to have to tell them there are events coming back, that they should buy tickets, that they should come see us. And so why not use that opportunity too to say, and by the way, we're doing things a little bit differently now, and here's how you can help.
So anything else that you would leave the audience with as it relates to sort of encouraging people to overcome the various resistance and objections and excuses that they might encounter as they're trying to move sustainability forward?
Now is the time. Now is the best time, and it's more important than ever for us to get these strategies and ideas into place. Our planet is recovering. It's getting the best break it's ever gotten. So let's not come back and do the same thing we were doing before. Let's come back a little bit more mindfully and consciously about how we're impacting it. And let's do it together so that we can have a brighter future ahead when it comes to sustainability in our planet.